This is going to be fun. This is a super rare opportunity. 1945 D18s. In 1945, there were 4 possible combinations of D18s. You could have had a Sitka top with a T-bar truss rod. You could have had a Sitka top with an ebony truss rod. You could have had a red spruce top with a T-bar. And you could have had a red spruce top with an ebony bar. I've got 3 of those 4 possible combinations here. And we're going to play them back to back. And I thought about not telling you which one was which. But you're going to be able to tell. I mean, this is a red spruce top. That's a Sitka spruce top. Okay, I'm trying to get you some better light here. But hopefully you can see the difference here. In person, it's extremely obvious. This one's brown. This one's yellow. I mean, it's just very obvious. Now, the T-bar versus the ebony is a little bit harder. And in fact, I had to sit here and figure out with a magnet which one was which so I could remember. Okay, this one is the ebony truss rod. And the way I can tell is because if you look at the tuners have been replaced and they've got grommets in them. And I remember that because I have recorded this one before. This one is the Sitka T-bar. They are so close. I mean, when you're sitting here looking at them, right here, you can see a little bit more wear on the sound hole on this one. But the saddle height is a little bit lower, but there's nothing you're going to see on the video. These 2 guitars are very close, but I can tell. So what I'm going to do when I play them is I'm going to flip my hoodie up, and I'll be consistent. So we're going to start with the T-bar. We're going to start with the Sitka T-bar. And by T-bar, you know what I mean, right? There's a metal T-bar in here, and you can stick a magnet on the back of it, and you can tell. You don't get magnetism with ebony. So you put a magnet on the back of this one, you can tell. So this is the Sitka T-bar. Then we're going to do the Sitka ebony bar, and you should be able to hear there's a difference between the 2 guitars, and I'm going to attribute that mostly to the ebony truss rod because we have experience with ebony truss rods, and there's a characteristic difference in the tone that they seem to have. You know, I mean, it's hard to test those things. You'd have to remove everything. You're never going to be able to test it scientifically. But there's a certain tone that all of the ebony truss rod guitars that I played have that's different in the T-bar. So it's it's as close of a comparison you ever make if you're going to try to pin down some differences in these things. So, and I didn't do that. What we're really going to do is just listen to the guitars and see if you like one, you know? Just listen to them and say, wow, look at the difference in that and 3 D18s from the same year. So, we're going to do the Sitka ebony bar, and then we're going to switch to the red spruce ebony bar. So that way we've got Sitka back to back, and the difference is the truss rod. And then we're going to go over here, and we're going to do Sitka and red spruce, and the difference is going to be in the top spruce. And then I'll talk about the guitars a little bit more when we get done. My observations, and then hopefully maybe I can get around to playing the guitars a little bit. And we'll see how this goes. All right, here we go. Well, pretty significant differences to me playing the things between these three, and there's a difference in feel, the neck size, the neck width, and all that sort of thing. So let's start with this one. This is the Sitka T bar. Sitka T bar, and this would be I'll pop up a chart at the end of this, and actually I'll do the chart first. So I will show you the chart before this. You've already seen the chart. Showing the stuff. So this is a Sitka T bar. Now remember, these are 1945, so we're talking the end of World War II here. So there's still some metal shortages going on. And that's why that's going to affect whether or not they have a T-bar, whether they have tuner grommets. And it's going to affect some things about these guitars. And the availability of red spruce. This is the year that they're making the switch over to Sitka spruce as a standard model, as the standard spruce being used. So that's why there's so many changes going on here in 1945. It's a tumultuous time. So, all right, so this one is the Sitka T-bar. It does not, now let's start at the headstock, okay? What I noticed about this one is tuning it is pretty hard to tune. No, wait, yeah, this is it. This one, the ebony, that's good. Yeah, the T-bar on this one, man, it's hard to tune. And it's not necessarily because of the tuners. It's because there's no tuner grommet in here, and the tuner shaft is directly on the wood. Now, one of the modifications that I used to do on D18 Golden Eras was to fill the tuner, the bushing hole. Fill the bushing hole with wood, and then put the grommet back in at the top half. So if you look at these pre-wars over here, this is a 38 back here behind me. If you take the tuners off, you will see that the hole is sized to fit the shaft pretty close. And then it's a stepped hole. So up at the top, the hole is bigger and the grommet fits down into there. Modern Martins, and I don't remember what year they switched on this. I can't remember what year they switched, but 50s, around in there, they would just drill straight through. So consequently, the tuner shaft was sitting up in air in the middle of the headstock. So that was a change that occurred. So in 45, the hole in the head is sized for the shaft of the tuner. So point of this being, when I did that modification, all of a sudden, I had Waverly tuners turning on wood. And they were stiff. And that's part of the reason why you do that, is so the tuner shaft makes contact with the wood. The idea is that the tuner shaft makes contact with the wood, transfers more energy into the peg head, and then that comes down the neck and works its way to the body. You're just trying to capture as much energy as you can, because that's what the pre-wars had. And so, it's just one of those things where you're doing it. But I noticed that the tuner shafts are always stiff. And people complained about it. And what they would especially complain about is that when you would loosen it, the detune, it sticks there for a minute. And that's because probably because the friction of the shaft on the wood is so great that the tuner doesn't just, freely turn. When you're cranking it up, you're fighting against the wood and the string, and it's creaky. It's hard to turn. So it's not the tuner necessarily. I think it's my experience from converting is that it's the friction of that shaft on the wood. And maybe you could put wax in there or something, I don't know. But I will tell you that these two, the red spruce top and this T-bar one, which is funny because it has a T-bar but it doesn't have grommets. So you're trying to save metal, but you run a T-bar in here, but you don't put grommets in there. So more than likely Martin had a stack of these tuners left over that didn't have grommets with them, because they're not going to throw grommets away. They're trying to save money. So these tuners probably didn't even come with grommets, and Martin is using up these tuners from the earlier 45s. And so that's my best guess on that as to why that's happening. Why they would use a T-bar for all that metal, but not put grommets up here. Anyway, the tuning stiffness is probably due to the shaft on the wood rather than the tuning machines themselves per se. So, this one is a hard guitar to tune. I will tell you that. Once you get it tuned, it stays. Okay. I did not do the nut on this one. Yeah, I did not do the nut, even though the spacing is a little wonky on this nut, meaning it's too close here. This one is not as bad as some of the other ones, and I'm able to play this one pretty good. So I left the nut on this. This is probably the stock nut. It looks like the stock nut. If it's not, it's a good replacement. Anyway, this nut was pretty good. These frets were pretty good. The only thing that I did to this guitar was to lower the action a little bit. It was a little bit too high on the bass side, that's it. But it's got a good saddle on it, and it's set up really well. Let's see if we can get a look at the saddle. Look at the saddle height on it. There you go. It's about 115, I think. It's not really super tall, but it's about 115 or 110, if I recall. Now, all of these 1945s have tapered bracing. So the bracing starts up at the X, and it comes down like this, and it's tapered down to the end. Not scalloped, but it's not straight bracing either. So that's what gives them this unique sound, is this tapered bracing. They've got small bridge plates on them. They all have ebony fingerboards and ebony bridges, and that kind of good stuff. All right, what I noticed about this one, it has the slimmest neck of the bunch, and it's not slim. I mean, these 45s have got some pretty good chunky neck. This one's got a really good neck on it. It feels good in my hands, and it plays good. Yeah, 1/11/16 neck, but it's pretty chunky. You could almost pass it as like a 23-30 seconds. These are really comfortable 1/11/16 because I like fairly chunky necks as long as I have a good V. These have got tremendously nice V's on them. Very good feel on it. And this one is fun to play. What I noticed the difference in sound between this one and the same guitar but with an ebony truss rod is the ebony truss rod is brighter. It's got some sort of snap to that upper end, and you hear that when you switch between them. So let me grab a weight. The other thing I also noticed about this ebony is lighter. So let's weigh this real quick and find out what we got here. I've weighed them before, but not with all three guitars in the same spot. So do we want kilograms or do we want pounds? I think everybody wants pounds. I prefer grams. Yeah, let's go with grams. You can convert if you want. So, Sitka T. $1.720. 1.72. 1.72 kilograms. 1.72 kilograms. Sitka ebony. 1.62. That's quite a bit. See what that comes out. 3.55 pounds. 3.55 pounds. 3.5 pounds. But it's a full 100 grams lighter. That's quite a bit. And it's in the neck, so you notice it when you pick it up. The red spruce ebony feels heavier than the Sitka. I can tell you that when I pick it up. I bet it's going to be real close to the other one, if not heavier. Get on there. We are back to kilograms, and we are up. I'm getting my hand off the scale. 168. 168. So, in between, huh? 168 for the ebony red. You can feel it. It's a little bit heavy when you pick it up. All right, so there's your numbers. Now, red spruce, ebony. Light. It's got a great balance. It doesn't have that weight in the neck, making it go down. This one has had replacement tuners, and they appear to be the Stumac vintage tuners. They look good. They've got grommets in them. This particular guitar, yeah, that was the other one. That was the 42. So let's take a look at the tuners on these. You can see the grommets. Here's the tuners. There we go. Personally, I like the tuners. This one's easy to tune. These look good. They look good enough, you know what I mean? Also, on these other two, the tuner shafts are straight, so the strings don't fall into the center. When you have a shaft that's tapered in like this, the way I string them is they pinch. And so these have got tapered in shafts, and I can wind my strings on this. Take a look at the string winding again on this. See those tuner shafts? They're tapered, and so when I tune it, or when I string it, I do one wrap over and one wrap under, and they pinch together. I like these tuners. I know they're not original, but they're a good functional replacement. I like these better than Waverleys on this guitar because they look better, they look more vintage. And when I first evaluated this guitar, I wasn't sure if they're original or not. Now we got some other ones in, and I see the originals, and I'm going, no. And other people said, no, those are not original. But they're a good replacement. Okay, on this guitar, I did a nut. The nut spacing was really wonky on this one. It was difficult for me to play because the E and the A were spaced so close together, and then the D and the E, and I mean, we're talking almost 60 thousandths of an inch difference between the EA and the BE. So I made a new nut out of mammoth ivory. I refretted this guitar. It had originally gold frets, which we could not decide whether they were original or not, but they were flat top. They had to go. So I just put standard. I put Just Cars on these. I think these are 4380s. Yeah, these are Just Car 4380s. I hesitate because I ran out of Just Car, and I had to use Stumac, but I used that on this guitar. So these are Just Car 4380 frets. They're good height frets. They're great. I did not do a neck reset on this guitar. This guitar was good. It has a fairly low saddle, but the action is really good, and it's got lots of bite, and I didn't see a need to do a neck reset on this guitar, so I haven't. So I refretted it, and that's about it. It has the signs of a popsicle brace crack right here, and I'm going to evaluate that a little bit more. What happens is it cracks alongside the fingerboard. Even though it has a popsicle brace, the popsicle brace does not do its job. It's a very poor brace in my humble opinion. I can see the start of a crack right here, and if I recall, I ran that through here and I verified that it's cracking. Probably going to put some sort of brace in here just to prevent that, you know. I can't remember if I recut the saddle slot. No, I don't think I did. I think this is the way it came. I don't remember. Anyway, it's got a long vintage slot. It's got the original pickguard. Everything's really nice about this guitar. The neck is chunkier up here. A little bit chunkier than that T-bar. But it's still really comfortable. It's got a smooth, even taper. Got a great V to it. And this is the chunkiest neck of the bunch. It takes me just a second when I come to this one to get used to it, and then I really like it. So, sound-wise, I immediately noticed that this one is brighter than the T-bar. And that, I think, is the ebony truss rod talking. You can really hear it up in there. They all have approximately the same strings. They're all phosphor bronze. None of them are extra light and extra heavy or anything like that. They're comparable enough, okay? You hear that? That's quite a bit mellower. It doesn't have that bright top end twang to it. They do all have the same pins in them. Pins can make a difference in that sound, but not that much. No, there's something else fundamental going on with that tone. Yeah. Listen to that. Versus this. Alright, and one thing about this guitar, I recorded it recently where I was using the looper, and I played a bunch of guitars, and I played them in front of the looper. I had my bass over here, my mandolin as backing track, and when I was playing this guitar, after playing all the other ones, after playing the 38s, 238s, a 40, a 42, and then I picked up this guitar, and I commented on that little video, I said, this guitar is so loud that I can hardly hear the backing track. And I haven't touched any volumes, you know. It's almost drowning out the rhythm. It's almost drowning out the rhythm. If it was just running the whole time and I was just switching guitars. Then when I heard it back on the video, I didn't hear that. In fact, it was one of the quieter guitars, and I was really surprised. I said, golly, the difference to what I'm hearing and what's going out to the microphone is not the same. I'm hearing the guitar in my face. It is so loud that I am having trouble hearing the backing track, and I'm having to back down on my playing a little bit until I got used to it. The other guitars, no, I was able to play full blast and not drowning. But when it came through the microphone, it was quiet. So that I must be hearing the top wood. You know, as you're sitting here, you're hearing the wood vibrate, and it's not projecting. I did a test one time. Should I enlarge the sound hole? And I called it Honey, I Shrunk the Sound Hole. So you can go look that up if you want to. But I made a spruce insert for the sound hole here. And then I started with nothing. It was completely blocked off. No sound hole whatsoever. And then I started putting 1-inch hole, 2-inch hole, 3-inch hole, and I started working my way up. We listened to it. And I was really, really surprised at how much sound I heard with no sound hole at all. You're hearing the top. You're hearing the top of the guitar without any projection coming out of it. It was different. It sounded thin and stringy, but it was surprising how much you could hear the top of the guitar with nothing. And I think that's what's going on with this guitar is I'm hearing the top so loud, and it's not projecting as much maybe. But it was an interesting phenomenon, and I just thought I'd bring it up because we'll see if it sounds the same here. So some of that brightness that I'm hearing might be from the top of the guitar, and you might not hear it, you know? So my observations might be different from what you're hearing. And that's totally valid. But when I switch between these two Sitka tops here, I'm hearing so much more treble out of this one. 30%. It's like if I went over to a graphic EQ and let's say this T-bar was flat. This guitar, I'm hearing, you know, you're putting a curve, you know, you're putting a curve like this on that graphic EQ. That's what I'm hearing with this guitar. Whether it comes out to the microphones, I don't know. We'll have to see. Anyway, I like this guitar. It's the first one we got in, so I've spent the most time with it. It has a fairly low saddle, but again, it's got enough saddle. And there's our saddle. So consequently, the pins stick up a little bit. I don't like that feel, but I don't think it's worth resetting the neck yet. Here's my nut. That's a mammoth ivory nut, and I got the spacing, of course, perfectly even on this guitar. So there's the nut that I built for it. The original nut's in the case. Made it play so much better for me, because every time I picked it up previously, I'd complain about that weird nut spacing, which I don't complain about that on the T-bar, so it's good now. Yeah, this is really good now. Really good. So anyway, Sitka ebony. Sitka ebony. Alright, now the red spruce. We got rattling around in there. A little bit of dust. Whoa. It's always fun to talk to him. The red spruce. This is red spruce top ebony truss rod. This one is in another video, well, when I evaluated it. And I talked about how the saddle was way too high. The saddle height on this one, when we got it in, was like 180 out of here, out of the bridge, with an action about 80 thousandths of an inch. So low action, very, very high saddle. And I did a reverse neck reset on this where I put a shim under the neck and brought that neck angle down. Now the saddle is 120. That's actually about 115 over here and 125 or so on the treble side, which makes it really good. It's really perfect right now. So let's bring this in, take a look at it here. There we go. It's not uncommon for them to be higher on the treble side than the bass side, especially the way I set up guitars, because I think back in the day they had them very bass heavy so that you could wham on them as hard as you wanted to. And when you're very bass heavy, then the bass side is more evened out. But as a modern flat picking guitar player, I want my action more even. So the action is 93 thousandths of an inch over to 75 thousandths of an inch over here. So it's more even than 120 and 75, which is what it was, what it would be with the even saddle. So it's not uncommon on these vintage guitars to have a lower saddle height on the bass side, higher on the treble. It works out good because you get an even bite across here, because the pins are closer to the bass side than they are here. So your angles work out to where the break angle is very consistent. The reason that there's that disparity is because of the height of the bridge on the treble side versus the height of the bridge on the bass side, and there's a greater disparity on vintage guitars than there's modern guitars. Modern guitars tend to be about 20 thousandths of an inch difference, and vintage guitars can be 30 to 40 thousandths of an inch difference, so that exposes more saddle. So anyway, don't worry about that too much. This is actually the same exact saddle that it had when it came in. I never removed it or anything. I just lowered it. I reset the neck to that. And there was some trouble doing the neck reset, which I will have another video on later. But I got it all worked out. It's all nice, good. Yeah. This one does not have bushings up on the peg head, and that's my nut. So take a look at both of those while you're here. I did a new nut, and you can see these are the same tuner setup as the other guitar. And that's my mammoth ivory nut to get the spacing more correct. The neck on this one is probably exactly in between these other two. It's a little slimmer than the Sitka ebony, but it's a little bit fatter than the Sitka T-bar. Really good. This is a great neck. My favorite neck of the bunch, although the other two are really good. This one, just that little extra bit more perfect. I refretted this one. I can't remember. The frets were horrible. Did the neck reset. Lowered that. I got the pins in there. Everything else was good on this guitar. So, what I noticed with this one, it's another step in brightness. So when I come off of that Sitka onto this guitar, this was just another step of brightness here. And it's not just bright. There's something else going in there. Let's listen to this one. Let's go back to this one. volume, what am I hearing there? What I think I hear is a better response to this one. This one has snap to it, man. Bam! When I put a little bit more into the right hand, boom, man, this one comes up. So it's more responsive. The Sitka seems like it's a little bit more muted, maybe a little bit more mellow. So as I played this guitar, just actually playing it, that's the kind of thing I noticed. The response of this thing is tremendous. I'm going to try to play pretty even, and then I'm going to bring in some dynamics, and let's see if the mic can get it. I felt like I was getting some dynamics here. I was fooling around the other day with again, you see there, it just seems to me like I can really get some dynamics out of this guitar that I can't out of the other two. When I took it easy on this part, punches, I noticed it on the hammer-ons and pull-offs. Wow, you know? That's responsive. Compared to this one. And again, this might just be me hearing the top of the guitar, and it might not come through here in the front. Yeah, it's just punchier to me. So, I think overall the red spruce is my favorite of the bunch overall. I'm going to go, my favorites backing up are this one, the Sitka Ebony, and the Sitka T bar. And that's not to slam the Sitka T, because it's a really good guitar. But there's something that's like triple special about this one to me as a player. You got the red spruce top with the characteristics there, and I don't always like red spruce. Sometimes I feel like red spruce is too clean and sterile sounding, and I like the grit that you get out of Sitka. But this one is plenty gritty, and probably comes from the tapered bracing rather than the scalloped bracing. I do think the tapered bracing is really good. If you listen to Tony Rice's guitar album, the one that's... If you listen to Tony Rice's guitar album with Freeborn Man on it, and then you listen to California Autumn and the Rounder 044, those were all recorded with the 1946, the Hilo Brown guitar. They were recorded with the Hilo Brown D28, which was not the antique, and it has different bracing and everything. It's got a Sitka spruce top. I know that for a fact. And the thing about that, meaning I don't know if it's tapered bracing or straight bracing because I haven't looked at the guitar, but it is a Sitka spruce top, and it's gritty. It's gritty and powerful. You know, that's my favorite tone. I love the clarity and the piano feel of the antique, but Tony's break on Freeborn Man is just so powerful. You know, maybe they got the mic cranked up all the way or something. I don't know, but there's a grittiness to it. So there is something to these 45s, 46s, 47s. Guitars in that area are the ones that have tapered bracing, the ones that have Sitka tops, you know, that whole mess in there. The good one is really, really, really powerful, gritty guitar. Now, I am not slamming the Sitka T-bar at all. This is a superbly nice guitar. And this probably has the best setup. This has got the best saddle height. Yeah, you know, there's nothing wrong with that. That Sitka ebony there just might, I don't know, you know, different tone. I just know when I'm playing them, and I've played all three of them quite a bit, the red spruce top has got something fun to it. There's a little extra snap to it. When you listen to it by itself like that back and forth, it might be a little thin, but maybe the thinness is part of it. I don't know. All right. Three really, really good 1945 D18s. I would be so hard pressed to pick a favorite, but I would probably walk out of here with the red spruce one. That just seems to me to have the best combination overall. But if you handed me any one of these three, it'd be like, fine, you know, this is great. I can deal with this. One last thing here. I keep forgetting this. I just noticed it. We think this is stock. We don't know. We're not sure. You know, some of these details are murky. Okay. The Sitka T-bar. The binding. The binding is tortoise on both sides. I'll flip this way. The binding is tortoise on both sides. The first one that came in is the Sitka ebony, and the binding is wood on the back side and tortoise on the front side, which I actually didn't notice until after I recorded the video, and I was looking at the guitar going, that's got wood binding on the back. And I don't know, we're told, John Arnold said this, I think, that some of them were bound with wood binding. And at first I thought, well, maybe they took the back off. Maybe somebody took the back off and rebound it with wood. Yeah, I really don't know. I think the wood binding is cool. I wish they did more wood binding. And then the red spruce is tortoise on both sides. So that was interesting. You know, that's the last thing I wanted to point out about that. I like that wood binding. So, alrighty. What an opportunity. So we're looking for the fourth guitar, obviously. If you've been paying attention, there's one that's missing in this little group, and that's the red spruce T-bar. There's a hunt for that one. I think that's the rarest of the bunch. We'll look at the chart and find out.